Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast featuring Phil Perry. We had access today ahead of camp, which begins Saturday. And DeAndre Hopkins is with the Patriots?
I didn't have that on my bingo card.
You were going to get into that and what that all means, Phil. Also, the Gabe Jacas situation continues to unfold. We'll tell you everything we know about that and why I think there's a couple of sides at loggerheads. Also, Christian Gonzalez bumping up activity from the spring. Mike Vrabel says so, but let's start with DeAndre Hopkins, because for years, Phil, I've wanted the Patriots. I know it's not the biggest story of the day. We want to get some Jacas. We want to get some Gonzalez, but I'm a big DeAndre Hopkins guy. So here's Mike Vrabel on seeming pseudo-coaching assistant DeAndre Hopkins.
You know, DeAndre Hopkins is here with us, kind of in a, just to kind of check things out as far as what he wants to do as far as coaching, and you'll see him on the field, and whether that's personnel. And so I use him as an example because he wasn't the fastest receiver, but he had an unbelievable play style and a play strength and a route craft that allowed him to succeed. And so each player at that position has to kind of find out what it is that they do well. Kyle Williams is a much different receiver than Mac Hollins, or AJ is a much different receiver than Pop. And then our job is to make sure that we're putting the best players and the ones that can help us win in the right spots, in the right personnel group.
So, iterated and reiterated by Mike Vrabel, DeAndre Hopkins was here in a capacity of trying to figure out whether or not he'd like to coach, whether or not he'd like to get into personnel. But just a month ago on Sirius XM NFL Radio, DeAndre Hopkins said, I still got plenty left in the tank. I'd like to join a contender. Well, I would think the Patriots are a contender. Doesn't mean he's going to start suiting up later in the week and Kayshon Boutte's going to come back to the locker and find DeAndre Hopkins stuff in it. However, Phil, I find this, is it me? Do I find this more interesting than you?
I think you might, but let me ask you why you might find it more interesting to me, or than I do.
Well,
do you feel like there's a chance he ends up with a helmet on and running around playing football for the Patriots?
Not in the immediate future, because he did say as well in that Sirius XM interview, it's regular seasons for the young guys.
Or training camp.
Training camp. I think he said regular season.
He said regular seasons for the young guys?
Hold.
So at this point, if you're DeAndre Hopkins, you're just playoff. You're a playoff guy. You're a hired gun.
Let me find the story.
1 month of the season. Listen, the best
keep talking
conspiracy theory when it comes to DeAndre Hopkins, in my opinion, is that he's simply feigning interest in a coaching opportunity. He has now acquired a key card. He's got access to the building. He's got access to the playbook, and he's just waiting in the wings. Something happens to somebody else in the receiver room, God forbid, he's ready to swoop right in. Because, as you mentioned in the story, he's made it very clear he wants to be a player. I don't think that's what's happening. That's a conspiracy theory. I'm just having some fun with it. That is firmly tongue-in-cheek. But I think that's where people will go with this, right? The Joe Patriots fan will, his brain will wander to those places.
Very important for us as a network, and I think all media, to just use this. I still got a lot of ball left, he said during that appearance on XM NFL Radio. It's not a situation I'm sitting here trying to force or go out and be the regular season superstar, because that's for the young guys, man. That's for the people they want to develop and give those contracts for the future. I know in my position, I'm a utility guy. I'm a special situation kind of guy. Me too. I can go out there and beat anybody one-on-one at any time, but as of lately, I've been a third down guy. I wasn't using the red zone last year, but on third down, they're going to put DHop in. They're going to come to me. I don't think that'll change anytime soon. So will the Patriots come to him going into year 14? I'd love to play for a competitor if that time came, but I'm in no rush to go out there and be a regular season superstar, because for me, I'm not getting a contract extension.
Okay, that sounds like a guy who would like to play football.
Sounds like a guy who'd like to play football.
But not necessarily anytime soon.
Exactly right. So maybe he goes from the Patriots, he goes and checks out the Eagles. Moose, you got something to add?
I have a question. Why didn't he sign here? Remember he came as a free agent?
A few years ago, yeah.
Why didn't he sign?
I think that the Titans gave him more
deal.
money from Mike Vrabel. Is that the point you were trying to make? And you didn't want to say it out loud? You just said, hey, just reach your own conclusions. Moose, can you come around so people can see who we're talking to? Thank you.
He's actually just a giant hand if you're watching on YouTube.
It's like, what was that from? The Addams Family? Hand?
Yeah. No, Thing. Isn't that Thing?
Yeah.
Last year, DeAndre Hopkins stats. You want to hear them?
Yeah.
17 games, 39 targets, 22 catches, 330 yards, 2 touchdowns. That sounds like a durable and formerly productive receiver on his way out of the league. 39 targets in 17 games.
Yeah.
22 catches in 17 games.
Do you know how many
You're a
targets?
catch and a half a game guy.
You know how many targets
Not even.
Keyshawn Booty had? 40.
40 targets? Did he really?
33 catches.
He was better than 330 yards, though, I believe, wasn't he?
Yeah, he had great yards per catch. But it's just interesting that, if you wonder where those 40 targets will go if Keyshawn Booty goes.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so what are you saying there? So
what exactly are you saying,
So
Tom?
what exactly are you saying? Last year he gave the that was Baltimore, I believe, right? Yes, Baltimore. He gave Baltimore in 17 games. He gave them approximately like a fourth receiver kind of production value.
Like a Jabbar Gaffney type player who's just look, you trot out A.J. Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, even at his advanced age, who's 6'4" and just can chew on the rim if he wants to still. He's a huge man.
Big bodies. Can I give you my theory, my more realistic theory?
Sure.
Because I don't think he's going to play. Receivers, arguably the Patriots' deepest position group.
Right.
And the only players I would clearly put behind DeAndre Hopkins right now, and if he were to be plopped into their depth chart, again, it's his fantasy lane. The only players of the 7 who have legitimate NFL experience now, that includes Efton Chisholm from last year, I think I would rather have him over only Pop Douglas and Efton Chisholm.
Okay. But I think just to redirect, and then we'll move on to the actual news instead of the speculative stuff.
Well, this is fun, though. I'm having fun now. You were the one who cared about it.
No, I
Now
care
you're
about
telling me you don't care about
No,
it.
I'm saying it for the audience because the audience is like, what are these guys trying to drive at? Basically, what I'm saying, he's in a stay-ready position. So they're not bringing him in any team because DeAndre Hopkins doesn't want to come in and take Efton Chisholm's jobs or Pop Douglas or Keyshawn Booty or Kyle Williams' job. It's more of a stay-ready, the stay-ready crew. And he's on the Stay Ready crew.
I think even that's going too far.
Well, Stay Ready.
I just don't think
Stay
he's
Ready
sniffing
in
anything.
November.
I don't think he's sniffing the
Well,
food.
until I hear otherwise, because the last thing he said that was published was this July 25th. He might have said something since, but that's the first thing I found when I Googled DeAndre Hopkins retired, because he's not retired. Next up.
Hold on. Can I give you another theory here? I know we got to go quick.
Oh, the A.J. Brown thing?
Quick. No, this is my more realistic theory on why Hopkins is here. Why of all the places, obviously he has a relationship with Mike Vrabel, but why of all the places, if he's interesting, he's been all over the league. He's got people in Houston, I'm sure, still, Arizona, Tennessee, Kansas City, last year Baltimore. Why here? And is there any possibility that the Patriots it wasn't just DeAndre Hopkins calling them for an opportunity? Maybe the reason they're interested is they just traded for a big-bodied ex-receiver, and he can be sort of an ex-receiver consultant of sorts, a star ex-receiver consultant of sorts. Not that Josh McDaniels doesn't know what to do with a guy like A.J. Brown. He's had star ex-receivers himself. But might DeAndre Hopkins be sort of a valuable sounding board for a team that has just acquired a guy who has a pretty similar skill set to what Hopkins' skill set was when he was in his prime?
That is a good theory.
Thank you.
I think it's definitely a good theory. And again, if DeAndre Hopkins is at Patriots camp at the beginning and he has yet to retire, and he is on record saying that he still wants to play, it's a story. So that's why there was focus devoted to it at the beginning of our podcast. However, now to the news of the day. Gabe Jacas, second-round pick. This is what Mike Vrabel had to say about the impasse with the player who still is not in camp.
Well, continuing to work through the contract, I think that those have been positive. Spoken to Gabe personally, and again excited to get him in when he's under contract.
Did he suffer some kind of injury between the last time you saw him before the draft and the draft itself?
We've not, we're not going to get into the injuries. I mentioned that Gabe had, a surgery to take care of some things, and that's where we're at. And again, like Mike said we're going to evaluate him when he gets here.
So here's what my best understanding of the Gabe Jacas situation is. Patriots traded up to draft him. Teams do medicals, and then they do a recheck prior to the draft to make sure that everything's square when draft day comes and you go back to purchase the car.
You can do that on your 30 visit.
Yep.
There's the combine medical checks. You can do rechecks in Indy. So, yes, you're right. There's all sorts of times to evaluate these guys medically.
And one would imagine that there is some kind of a contract signed where if your condition changes, you make sure you let the teams know. Well, the Patriots drafted Gabe Jacas, and when he showed up, he said, got a thing with the knee. So he had a surgery done. My best read on it is that prior to the Patriots drafting Gabe Jacas, and unbeknownst to them, something happened with his knee that wasn't there beforehand. So it wasn't like some kind of debilitating injury or chronic injury that they were able to find. And as such, they have resisted paying the slot that he would normally get because, as Greg Bedard phrased it, why is this so complicated? When he posed a question to Mike Vrabel, there's slots, it's guaranteed. You know what the guaranteed money ahead of him and behind him is. Why not just slot him in? And Mike Vrabel countered with, well, there's more to it. Well, I think the more to it is you got a guy who you drafted thinking he was in one condition and he turned out to be in another condition. I think the impasse and the reason they are at loggerheads is because Gabe Jacas won't come in until he has a contract, perhaps on the advice of his agent. And the Patriots aren't going to give him a contract until they are able to put the ball peen hammer on the knee and see whether or not his reflexes shoot back, huh? What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's a logical timeline that you lay out there, Tom. And if he made his visit, and most visits are probably due in part to the fact these teams like to do these medical rechecks, and all of these guys for the most part are dealing with something, and you want to do it as close as you can to the draft. Mm-hmm. If he made his visit, say, in mid-April, and the draft is a couple weeks later, what you're suggesting is maybe there was something in that brief week and a half, 2 weeks period of time that occurred that changed the value of the asset that is Gabe Jacas that the Patriots invested in on draft weekend. And that would be incredibly unfortunate timing for both parties. But if you're Gabe Jacas, aside from the fact that they're very thin at the edge position, and he does have some leverage in that regard, they kind of need him, you haven't done anything in the league. I understand you don't want to come in and get rechecked, because you feel like you might hurt yourself in terms of getting the value of that draft slot that you're really looking for. But, man, are you really comfortable with starting your professional career with a team that was just in the Super Bowl, with a coach who hasn't won a Super Bowl but is a pretty accomplished guy? Are you ready to start that relationship off on rocky ground because there was some unfortunate timing with something potentially that you dealt with right before the draft?
And not only starting it off on rocky ground, but putting yourself behind the learning curve. So it's not only the relationship, it's how much you can do the job.
How effective can you be, yeah.
I like car analogies. This would be you go into the dealership and you look at the car and you sign the papers and you really like it, and then you leave. And then the next day you go to pick the car up and somebody backed into it on the lot. And the dealership says, it's just going to get it fixed. You got to take it.
Same car.
You got to give me the check.
It's worth the same amount. Yeah,
we're going to fix it. There's not a problem here. I want to get a better look at that. Well, you can't get a better look at it. Just give me the money, and then I'll let you look at it. Hey, my best read on it, until they start flapping their gums publicly and let everybody know what the hell's going on, this is what you're going to get.
I did ask specifically. I don't know if you want to play this out. I don't think we glean a whole lot from it, but I did ask Vrabel if he suffered some sort of injury prior to the draft that they were unaware of.
That's why I texted Phil in the middle of the press conference, thank you for asking direct questions, which I thought Greg Bedard did a good job of as well. Meanwhile, Christian Gonzalez, he's here, and Mike Vrabel says he's going to be out there playing football.
Mike, where do things stand with Christian Gonzalez, and do you expect him to be here and a full participant tomorrow?
I would expect him to be here. He is here, and I would expect him to participate. Those contract negotiations are ongoing between the club and his agents.
Phil, that was a little eye-opening. I've said I didn't think it was a great idea for a guy who wants to be paid $35 million a year to go out and run around until you have the contract in place. I mean, maybe you should take some advice from Gabe Jacas.
It does feel like Jacas. might be, taking more of a hardline stance than Gonzalez is if what Vrabel says is true. Right? Now, is Vrabel saying, yeah, he's going to do more just because training camp itself is more involved and it's more all-encompassing and the days are longer? Mm-hmm. Or does he mean what I thought Doug Kyde from the Herald was implying there when he asked the question, which was, we all were there at minicamp. He was out there, and he did some things. He did not participate in the competitive periods of practice. And just to put a finer point on it, so nobody that was participating in some of those minicamp periods, what do you mean not competitive? The most competitive periods of practice, Christian Gonzalez was on the sideline with his helmet in his hands and paying attention and with the group, but he wasn't playing. And so if that happens again, then he is very limited. We're going to consider him very limited in training camp. And it's going to be because of a contract situation, not because of an injury.
And I think we can presume for the first few days of this camp, which will be a ramp up and a continuation and kind of they'll step back a little bit and do what they were doing in OTAs and at the mini camp and then jump forward. I wouldn't be surprised if Gonzalez does do those things, which are a similar vein to the OTAs. It's when the pots come on and they get on the field and start taking active full pad reps.
Well, and even before full pad time, you can do things with shorts and T-shirts and helmets on that look competitive, where it's full speed. We're going hard, especially in the secondary, right? The guys on the line of scrimmage, they have to handle themselves in a certain way. But there are periods of practice where guys are competing for the ball in the air. There is the opportunity for you to get tangled up with somebody. Just because there's no hitting doesn't mean there's not a little bit of physicality in some of these shorts and T-shirts types of periods. And that's what I would expect we're going to see early here, right? It's going to be a few days before they put the pads on. So when things get competitive, will he be out there?
Yeah, if they're throwing fades to A.J. Brown, and even if they're in, shells, does Christian Gonzalez want to be jumping up at the back pylon to contest A.J. Brown if their legs get tangled and he comes down and there's an issue?
And there are periods where they'll be very specific and they will tell you, in some of these one-on-ones, for example, people might be watching those from the sidelines, fans that come by and say, wow, Brown torched Gonzalez on that one. Or did you see Pop Douglas just pull away at the last second? He had that extra gear at the last second to pull away from Marcus Jones. There are drills where the DBs are told to let up when the ball arrives so that you avoid those situations that you're talking about. And then there are periods where they're told, go get it.
Yep. Listen, that's pretty much it. We're going to practice tomorrow. We'll have some access to Vrabel prior. Then we're going to have a practice. And then we're going to come back at you again. We're going to be pouting over there. DHop, we'll let you know how many routes he runs tomorrow.